Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius.
And welcome to the Tiberius Show today. And I'm your host, Tiberius Boy. And as always, we're looking at various jobs and how they affect the world around us. Today's case is going to be very interesting. We're going to talk to a trainer that teaches you how to learn. Do you have any idea? Hold on. Isn't this like a teacher? Well, we're going to have to wait and find out. But hey, let's talk to this guy and find out. Let me introduce our next guest. The one, the only, the amazing Matt DiMio.
Well, thank you very much. I am delighted to be here. This sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, it will be. Okay, so you were listed as a trainer at the company Be Smarter, Faster. Can you explain to us exactly what do you do?
School tells you what to learn, but they don't really teach you how to learn it, and that's what I specialize in. And let me put it this way. In school, did you ever have a teacher or a parent wag their finger at you and say, pay attention when I'm talking to you, study for the test, stop daydreaming, take notes, prepare for the exam? Did you ever once take a class in how to stop daydreaming or how to listen or how to take notes or how to prepare for the exam? Well, there are strategies that the smartest and best performing students employ that almost is never taught at the school level. And that's what I do.
Huh. So what sparked your interest in learning to just teach people?
I'm going to take you way back to before there was such a thing as computers in people's homes. I'm going to take you way back to 1980 in New Jersey, in Union, New Jersey. I was running a chain of computer programming schools, and we were looking to get young people trained on how to do computer programming. Now, it sounds silly to say that back then, people were talking about, wow, this computer stuff is going to be big someday. But at that time, businesses were using what are called punch cards. Well, I had a very high dropout rate at my computer schools, and I was paid based on the collected tuitions. So I was looking to reduce the amount of chargebacks I was getting to my paycheck. So I began to study what could I do to reduce the dropout rate? And I was shocked when I went to every seminar I could find. I bought every audio cassette tape program I could find. I attended seminars on how do you do things like how do you read a textbook differently than the way you read a storybook? How do you take notes effectively? What are strategies for taking an exam even if you don't know the material any better? And I was shocked at all the stuff that I was able to find. I not only taught that to my students at my schools, I not only reduced the dropout rate, I increased the job placement rate because they actually knew what they were talking about when they went on an interview. Go figure. And then that's when the magic happened. I began to get calls from the companies that hired our graduates wondering what we were doing at our schools that made our students perform so much better. And I began to do after-dinner speaking engagements for professional computer associations way back in the early 1980s.
That's cool. So how do you think teaching other people helps make the world a better place? Isn't that just teaching normally?
Well, let me ask you a question. In your opinion or in your experience, and let me ask the viewers too, in your experience, were teachers more interested in sticking with the curriculum that they were that they were told that they were the management told them that they had to teach, or were they really interested in having you understand the lesson and really be able to do something with the content? A lot of times what passes for learning is rote memorization, where it's like throwing spaghetti against the wall. You just keep throwing it against the wall and see how much of it sticks. That's not really learning stuff. And so I approach it from a completely different point of view. I'm motivated to actually get fast results in students. And I talk about the name of my company is Be Smarter, Faster, because you want to learn things quick. Think about it. When somebody is smart, they refer to them as quick-witted, right? What are the dumb kids in class? They're, the slow kids. So we all know instinctively the way we use the words. There are people that are quick, and there's people that are slow. Well, I help the slow ones become fast because that's what people want to do.
That's true.
Pretty cool, right?
Now, viewers, if you're on YouTube, please comment your answer down below. I would love to know what y'all are talking about. And in my experience, there are some teachers that do just the curriculum, and there's some teachers that do extra and actually add more to the curriculum. And I actually like those teachers more.
Why?
Now, mainly because their activities and stuff that makes you remember during exams what those activities were and what the curriculum was.
So they're actually vested in getting you to produce a result.
Yeah.
I mean, I had some good teachers. I remember my 7th grade teacher gave me essentially what became my career. I was always a little kid. In 7th grade, I was either the smallest or the second smallest boy my age. I'm not particularly athletic. I didn't have great hand-eye coordination. Too small to be on any of the big kids' sports teams. And so I felt a little inferior. And in 7th grade, my English teacher, who was a beast, she was nobody made her happy. She was doing a show and tell where every kid in the class had to get up and do a show and tell. When I did mine, I was the only one that she wouldn't let the other kids critique because I did it so well. And I discovered I could do something the big kids couldn't do, speak in front of a group of people.
Huh. Now here seems like a good time to take a quick commercial break. Let's hear a word from our sponsors.
So you want to make an ad for your company, right?
Yeah, Tiberius, you want to help me?
Okay, so what's the name of the company?
PPWND.
PP what?
Professional Pressure Washing and Detailing.
So you like clean driveways?
Yeah, like that. We pressure wash commercial buildings and semi-truck and trailers.
So how would someone get a hold of you?
They can visit my site at ppwnd.com or call me at 407-900-7793.
So I just tell them to call you at 407-900-7793 or visit ppwnd.com?
Yeah, Tiberius, you got it.
Cut! That's a wrap! Just use that.
Oak Ridge Gun Range is a family-oriented shooting range that has been in business for over 30 years. They specialize in basic firearm training and offer numerous services such as consignments, gun trades, gunsmithing, and concealed weapon classes. I even got my training for gun safety at Oak Ridge Gun Range. Great customer service, and firearm safety is what they do best. So find out more at oakridgegunrange.com.
And we are back here talking with Matt DiMio. Matt is a speaker as well as a trainer. So, speaking, tell me what that's about.
Well, it's being able to get up in front of a group of people and communicate an idea, either to educate them or motivate them or hopefully to do both.
So, what's the coolest convention you've been at so far?
Coolest? Well, I'm old. I'm 72 years old, so I've been at some really cool ones. The most recent one I was at is where I met you at the Great Discovery in Orlando.
It's true.
The biggest one I ever did was in Baltimore, where I was on stage in front of over 10,000 people in my audience. But I've also been on stage at the Superdome, at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, at the Paris Hotel and Casino. So I've been on some pretty cool stages.
Huh. Well, what do you talk about?
I talk about how to learn things faster. It's an easy thing to dismiss. It sounds very theoretical. But what I actually do is I do demonstrations with my audience. For example, one of the things that I do is before I'm introduced to my crowd, I will go around the room, meet as many different people as I possibly can, and then from stage, I call them all by name. And at the Great Discovery in Orlando back in March, where you and I met, there was probably, 80 people in the room. But that's by no means the biggest crowd that I've ever learned everybody's name. And when you do something like that, it's almost like a Martian landed in the middle of the room, because they look at it as if it's impossible, and yet I teach people how to do it, and the reason that I do something so showy like that is to prove that my concepts work.
Now, it said in your bio that you are a 3-time author. Now, tell me about the books you wrote.
Well, I love talking about my books. Well, since I was just mentioning about learning, being able to recall the names of everybody in my audience, the very first book that I wrote, oddly enough, is called How to Remember People's Names. Take a wild guess as to what that's about, where I actually teach people a step-by-step process. And that's something that almost everybody feels like they're not very good at it. And yet, it should be the very first thing that you learn, your very first day of kindergarten. Okay, children, today we're going to learn the names of the other little boys and girls you go to class with. You've heard it all your life. To be a success, it's not just what you know, it's who you know. Now, I've written 2 other books. One is called Straight A Strategies for Successful Online Learning, and that quickly became an Amazon bestseller because so many people take online classes these days. There's lots of information out there for teachers, but there's almost nothing out there to help students perform better when they're stuck with all of the differences of having to learn at home where there's no structure, no schedule. They can lay in their bed looking at an iPad or what have you. And so I teach what are the right ways to be able to learn from that. And then my third book is called Forgetful No More. Have you ever put down your keys, your wallet, your eyeglasses, and then later on how to play treasure hunt? Well, I solve those problems for people.
So, what's the most misunderstood part about your business?
People talk to me as if I am a memory expert. And I get called a memory expert a lot. In truth, I'm an expert on the subject of learning. I am a learning strategist. You see, memory is the last part of the learning process. The first 2 parts are you've got to get it, and then you've got to kind of organize it in your head before you're able to recall, retain, and remember it. And so I would say that is absolutely the most misunderstood part is people go right to memory, which is the end result. They ignore how do you get the stuff in there in the first place.
So, do you need a lot of training in order to do this type of work?
Well, I'm what's called an autodidact, which means I am self-taught. And the way I went about this is, as I mentioned, way back in the 1980s, I began to look at what other people were doing that were teaching similar type stuff. And so I attended seminars that other people taught. I listened to an awful lot of audio cassettes. And then just the act of speaking myself and actually getting out there and doing it and making lots of mistakes and doing it wrong at the beginning, and I've got some stories about that. Eventually, I said, you know what? It's too painful to do it the wrong way. I better learn how to do it right.
So, what's the craziest thing that has happened while you were doing your passion?
The craziest thing that happened? Man, let me tell you something. I'm 72, like I mentioned. A lot of crazy things have happened in my life. To come up with one I would be hard pressed. But I can tell you that the stuff that grabbed me the most, that immediately thinking back about it, is the size of the audiences that I would sometimes recall everybody's name. One of the things that really left an impression on me is that I'm still able to do it at the age of 72. Just this past March at the hotel in Orlando with the Great Discovery.
All right. Well, what's the hardest part about working as a trainer, or really any of your jobs?
I think the hardest part of anything is dealing with those people that are just too skeptical that they can't get out of their own way. The people who want to challenge you on every little thing, that no matter what you say. I'll give you a perfect example. Years ago, up in New Jersey, which is where I'm originally from, I began to do these types of lectures for middle schools. And I love doing middle schools. I did grade schools, middle schools, and high schools. But I like middle school the best because they still had the youthful enthusiasm, but they were old enough to be able to really participate well. The students loved me. The teachers hated me because what I taught was outside the way they normally run a class. So I'm using what I was teaching meant a lot more work for them, and they didn't like that a bit.
Wait, you also have a YouTube channel?
I do.
Me too. Well, what do you post and how often?
My goal is to do at least once a week with some shorts in between. I have over 200,000 subscribers. My channel is called Be Smarter, Faster. Go figure, since that's what my whole theme is. So my most popular video is called How to Absorb Textbooks Like a Sponge. And what I talk about there is a mechanical process for going through a textbook differently than the way you would read a storybook or a novel. I have popular videos on the subject of how to read faster than you ever did before. I just posted one a couple of weeks ago on a kind of a fluff topic on how to recite the alphabet backwards, which is a story about something I taught my daughter when she was only 3 years old. So I teach stuff that I think is going to immediately improve my viewers' ability to absorb information.
Okay. Now, what message do you want to tell children all over the world about doing the work that you do?
The first thing that I want children to know is that sometimes you will look at other students that just seem to be smarter or more popular or better than you somehow. And the truth is, they're really not. Sometimes all they've gotten is they've figured out a few strategies that give them a little bit of an edge. I want you to understand, you already have the ability inside of you. Just like every seed has a tree inside of them, or every oak seed has got an oak tree inside, you have all of the seed and all of the makings inside of you of being great. You just need to get enough water and sunshine and let it come out, let it blossom.
Uh-huh. Well, on that note, let's take a quick break to pay some bills.
The Tiberius Show would like to thank one of their dedicated sponsors, Custom Designs Orlando. These guys are on Mills Avenue and do all sorts of stuff, ranging from photo ID badges, engraved signs, custom braille ADA signs, vinyl lettering to trophies and awards. The cool part about Custom Designs is they can ship products all over the United States. You can reach them at 407-898-0373 and tell them that
Tiberius
sent you.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties, contact Lighthouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org.
And we are back here with Matt DiMio, the trainer. Now, what age level do you think people should learn to do this type of work? Like, is it safe for kids to learn about and try to get into?
Well, let's define what that means. I think that one of the greatest things that children should be able to do at an earliest age as possible is get up in front of their fellow classmates and give a presentation of some sort. You will find that having the ability to speak in public is one of the greatest strengths that you can possibly have. And you want to start doing it as young as possible. Make your mistakes while you're little, and then this way, when you get to be in middle school or in high school, you get to be pretty good at it. And that is how you get to be a leader and popular really fast.
Now, what was that one thing that happened in your career that you did not expect?
One thing that happened that I didn't expect, things happen to me that I don't expect all the time. First of all, I never really expected to do this kind of thing as a living. Here, I'll give you one that was recent. In my late 60s, I reinvented myself once again, and this time as a YouTuber. Now, my daughter is in her early 20s, and so she looks at her old man going, he's a YouTuber with a Silver Play Button award? So I certainly didn't expect to be able to do that.
Well, what have you learned about yourself that you wish that you knew earlier?
Wow, what a great question. I wish I understood. Man, oh man, boy, there's it's a lot of stuff. One of the things that my students tell me they wish that they had learned is that they wish that they had gotten all of the techniques that I teach now when they were young. And in truth, so do I. I think that's why I get so enthusiastic about it, because I wish people had taught me this stuff when I was young, because these are strategies that can speed up the learning process and they take the pain out of studying. Pretty cool.
That makes sense. I mean, that would save me time for sure. Now, what's the best part of your day, Matt?
I love my first cup of coffee in the morning. My wife usually has coffee ready for me when I wake up, which I appreciate to no end. And I would say that is one of my favorite things.
Okay, well, if you could go back in time and give your 13-year-old self advice, what would it be?
Ooh, you know what? I was asking myself that question while I was in the shower this morning. If I went back as a kid, what do I wish I could do over? I wouldn't be so shy with girls. When I was, and because I was not a bad-looking kid, I just didn't have a very good self-image. And I would go to the sock hops and the dances, and I would stand on the sidelines. I'd be scared to ask these pretty little girls that I had a crush on to ask them to dance. If I could go back in time, I would say, hey, get over yourself. Everybody's nervous. Just go do it anyway.
What was the biggest mistake that you've ever made, and how did it change you as a person?
Regrets. I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I'm channeling my inner Frank Sinatra.
I was gonna say, that sounds familiar.
You don't get to be 72 years old without having made a lot of mistakes. I don't have a biggest one. I will tell you, one of the things that I regret is the relationship that I had with my dad prior to my mid-20s. From the time I was in my late teens, my mid-teens, till the time I was in my mid-20s, I always thought that it was my dad getting me angry. I didn't realize that I needed to take responsibility for what was actually going on. And it was only after I had attended a special seminar where they talked about responsibility and that you're actually in control of people's reactions that I regained my relationship with my dad. And so I realized it wasn't him doing it to me, it was me doing it to me.
So, when you're not working, what do you do for fun?
Well, for years I was a professional keyboard player, and I'm a rock and roller. Your audience is way too young to remember Deep Purple, but your grandparents and your parents certainly know songs like "Smoke on the Water." Anyway, I was a hard rock organist, and I've opened for many national and international acts. However, these last couple of years, ever since the lockdown, I have not been out gigging, but that was something that I used to enjoy doing a lot. These days, believe it or not, I actually relax by creating new YouTube videos. It is very fulfilling to me to see the comments that my students post on my videos.
Oh, your students post on your videos? Wow.
Let me tell you, I get... for me, at this stage of my life, if my life was a baseball game, I'd be in the 7th inning. And so this is a legacy. I've created a YouTube channel to have something that I can leave behind after my time here is up. And I know that I am making an impact on the lives of students of all ages around the world. So I have students that write to me and post comments about what my lessons have meant to them, how they've passed exams, how they've gotten into medical school or became engineers or became attorneys, or, I mean, it's just really, really quite humbling, and I give tremendous thanks to God for it.
So, do you play video games? And if you do, what's your favorite one?
Oh my, I haven't played video games since video games first came out. I am of the very first video game generation, playing Pong and all of that stuff. So I was of the generation. I used to like to go to the arcade and throw my quarters away, and I enjoyed that. There was one. Intruder Alert, where you were a robot, and I remember Intruder Alert, and you had to evade the robots that were coming to kill you.
Well, what was your favorite book to read that you have not written?
My favorite book to read? There's two books that stand out above all others to me, and the two books that I recommend to absolutely everybody. Number one, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Every motivational book that has been written since is a derivative of Napoleon Hill's masterwork. The second book is by Dale Carnegie, and I kind of think of myself as a reincarnation of Dale Carnegie, and he wrote the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. One of the greatest talents you can have.
Okay. Now, can you tell me that one story? Remember, this is a kid's show, but that one story, well, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on, you can tell me.
Oh, man. If I dig way back to, I think it was sophomore year in high school, I was on the wrestling team, and I was a little guy. I wrestled a 106-pound weight class in my sophomore year. And I wore braces. But I had a move called the can opener that was one of my favorite moves, and I won a bunch of matches using it. However, this one particular time, I went to do the move, and my braces got stuck in the other guy's jersey in front of the whole crowd. The referee had to come over and unhook my mouth from the other kid's jersey. Ugh. Now, as bad as I felt, the other kids on the team made me feel worse. It took a while to get over that one.
That's friends for you. Or at least some of them. Well, is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you?
Well, I offer a lot of free stuff. So on my YouTube channel, Be Smarter Faster, you can discover how do you get better grades on an exam, even when you don't know the material any better than you do now. You'll be able to learn how to take information that you read in a book or listen to in a lecture or watch on a video and almost do a direct input to your brain. How do you get the information from out there to go inside your head? Plus, I do a bunch of motivational stuff to help you understand, about getting through the tough stuff that we all have to get through in life. So I that would be the number one thing that I would like I'd like your viewers to know.
Okay. Well, do you have a Facebook or a website for my listeners who want to follow you?
Well, an easy website where, again, I offer some free stuff is simply www.besmarterfaster.com. You can look me up on Facebook. I'm the real Matt DiMaio. But YouTube.com/Be Smarter Faster really is the place where you can connect with me the best.
Okay. So, what is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
How do you remember so much stuff? What's the secret to having a super powerful memory?
Well, what's the secret?
I can sum the secret up in 2 words, and that is imagination and connection. Now, it may sound a little mysterious, but the human mind is a connecting machine. Watch when a little kid learns to speak, and they'll say, you mean it's like, You mean it's like, so what human beings are trying to do is they take stuff you already know and connect it to stuff that is brand new. A lot of people call it association, but that's not a good word, because if it was, you'd be able to use it better. The word I use is imagination and connection. So what you're doing is you're connecting images to stuff that you want to learn.
Well, thank you, Matt, for being my special guest. Well, can you stick around for Math Corners?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to stick around for Math Corners.
Sweet.
Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again and I can't play my games.
Call your computer solutions today, and we will scan for viruses and clean that computer up remotely and make it fast again. Our phone number is 407-826-0810.
Thanks, Dad. My computer's fast again. Now I can do my homework. Thanks for calling your computer solutions at 407-826-0810.
Tiberius' favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
And now it's time for Math Corners. Thank you, Matt, for helping me with Math Corners. This week, we are going to do some more multi-step word problems. My dad is always good at finding new problems for me to solve, and today, we're going to talk about a baseball game. Gavin is selling water bottles at a baseball game to help raise money for new uniforms. Before the game, he buys 48 water bottles at a total of $18.50. At the game, he sells all the bottles for $1.25 each. How much profit does Gavin make?
He makes 48 times 125 minus 1850. I can't do the calculations in my head.
Well, first, this is a real-world problem because, well, people have some bottles of water and may want to make some money and want profit. So, to solve this, first, let's find how much he earns throughout all these water bottles. Well, we take the 125 times it by 48 and we get $60. So, now that we have that, how much he bought them for, we subtract how much he bought them for the profit. And you get about $41.50 because he bought them for $18.50, and it's like all this subtraction and stuff.
Perfect.
With his thing, you might be able to do it faster than me. Right?
Right?
So, Matt, did you ever have to figure out crazy math questions like this when you were in school?
Oh, I hated word math problems. From third grade on, when I was required to memorize the times tables, I was left with a long-standing dislike of math that I didn't get over until I was in my early 30s.
Huh. Well, my teacher said that I would use math every day. How do you use math with your work?
How do I use math with my work? Well, I use a lot of math. Well, first of all, music is very mathematical.
Yes.
So when I was gigging, there was a lot of math and dealing with some of that. With my YouTube stuff, I need to be able to lay out time codes and I need to be able to figure out, all right, I've got clips that are this long, and I'm going to be speaking for that long, and so yeah, and you know what? The interesting thing is, I don't even think about it as math anymore. It's just part of what I've got to do to keep my channel running.
Part of the job.
Part of the process, right? Exactly.
Well, thank you, Matt, for your help with Math Corners.
My pleasure.
And now it's time for the Heart of a Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the heart of a lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility. This week, we're going to talk about nobility. For me, I think nobility is remembering we are God's special possessions and acting in a noble way, showing courage and honor. The qualities of nobility are goodness, virtue, honor, generosity, and selflessness. Now, this week has been a nightmare. The pool at my house has been causing all sorts of problems and it's costing my dad so much to fix it. How it happened was that the pool kept on becoming green every single summer when we wanted to use it. And then when he told he was needed to turn off the pump, it broke and he needed a new pump, which then caused a chain reactions within the middle of it, got my dad soaked in water and in chemicals. Well, he went to the pool store and got mad at the guys because he hired them and just wanted to know if he can get his pool fixed. So a day afterward, coming back from a job, he took me to the pool place and apologized for his actions the day before and said that he was asking for forgiveness and apologizing was a noble way to act. I was very proud of my father this week. So, Matt, did you see or use any of the Lion Strong virtues at all this week?
Well, I want to kind of dovetail on the story that you just told. I'm going through a situation where I am looking to rent a property that I own down in Pompano Beach. And the management company there is very ineffective. They're very aggravating. They keep very poor records. And I caught myself losing my temper with the lady on the telephone. And that's something that it really takes me a lot to push me to the point where I get hot with somebody. And unfortunately, that happened in this particular situation. And immediately afterwards, as soon as I caught myself, I immediately apologized and said, look, business is business. I should not have gotten so upset with you on the telephone. So in keeping with the theme of what your story was, that's my story on that subject that just happened a couple of days ago.
Huh. We should always try to be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
Absolutely. Good qualities.
And that's our show, folks. I want to thank the one, the only, the amazing Matt DiMio for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking to you today. I think we learned a lot about your career as a trainer, speaker, and author.
Always remember that the fastest way to get to the top is to get off your bottom. Thanks for having me, Tiberius. I had a ball.
No problem. Do you mind giving your social media and website again?
I'm delighted to do that. Please visit me on youtube.com. Be smarter, faster. So youtube.com/be smarter, faster. And you too can be smarter, faster. Go figure.
Also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show, and I would like to thank WWPR 1490 AM, KINT 98, Soul Radio 24/7, Eastway TV, and all the other stations that air my show. Please visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Matt, are you subscribed yet?
I am.
Good. Oh, and be sure to leave a comment if you want to work at so many jobs. Well, I will answer all the comments myself, and also be sure to listen to us next week on The Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.